Why does every recipe I try need 18 ingredients, including a jar of something paste I'll never use again, but will sit in my fridge for 9 months? I just want dinner in the oven, fast. That's why I love Blue Apron's new one-pan assemble and bake meals. They send you fresh ingredients that are already chopped. All you do is put it all together and bake. That's it. No chopping, no weird leftovers, just delicious, easy-to-make meals. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with Nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, and that means getting your party planning done early. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get Pepsi Max 24 times 330ml for £7, a litre of Gordon's Gin and Smirnoff Vodka, both £19, and 2 for £23 on selected packs of beer, including Budweiser 20 times 200ml and Carling 18 times 440ml, all with Nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, terms and conditions apply, Nectar required. Available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fee may apply, subject to availability. Please drink responsibly.
It's Saturday the 13th of December. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was a week that saw little progress on peace in Ukraine. A chair appointed for the grooming inquiry. The US continued to pump pressure on Venezuela, and Lando Norris crowned F1 champion.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
But not the news.
Ukrainian President Zelensky headed to London on Monday for a meeting with the coalition of the willing in Downing Street as pressure continues to grow on Ukraine to agree to Donald Trump's peace deal. Trump expressed disappointment in Ukrainian President Zelensky for saying he hadn't read the latest version of the deal, which the US president says the Ukrainian people will love. The tone was very different at Downing Street as Prime Minister Keir Starmer hosted Zelensky alongside French President Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz.
Well, I won't be putting pressure on President Zelensky. I will be talking to him about the peace plan. The most important thing is to ensure that if there is a cessation of hostilities, it has to be just and it has to be lasting.
The meeting made some progress, with the leaders speaking to 7 other EU leaders along with representatives from NATO, the European Union and Turkey. It appears that the EU is close to unlocking up to £78 billion of frozen Russian assets, which could provide Ukraine with crucial funds for rearming or for reconstruction. French President Macron said Europe is united behind Ukraine.
We all support Ukraine and we all support peace and peace negotiations to have a sustainable, robust peace. And I think we have a lot of cards in our hands.
Ukrainian President Zelensky was in Italy on Tuesday meeting with Pope Leo, and the Ukrainian leader suggested that he will hold elections in the next 90 days to address President Trump's claims that Zelensky is clinging on to power. Last week saw the US realign their national security policy, which delighted the Kremlin, and saw the Trump administration warning that Europe is facing civilizational erasure. That claim appears to be based on a perception encouraged by the far right, but speaking to Politico, the US president was happy to double down on a claim European leaders have firmly rejected.
Europe is a different place.
What do you mean by that?
And if it keeps going the way it's going, Europe will not be, in my opinion, many of those countries will not be viable countries any longer. Their immigration policy is a disaster.
President Zelensky has sent a new 20-point plan to Donald Trump and members of the coalition of the willing, including Keir Starmer, French President Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz spoke to the US President on Wednesday. Thursday saw a call with 30 leaders and allies as they attempt to reach agreement on security guarantees for Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has continued to praise Donald Trump's new national security stance and warned that Kyiv will have to hand over land to reach peace with Russia. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia and the US are aligned on the matter.
President Trump was the only one of Western leaders who started showing an understanding of the reasons that made the war in Ukraine inevitable. And the fact that President Trump agreed that the root cause must be eliminated
Meanwhile, it appears Donald Trump has decided he's bored of the peace process between Russia and Ukraine, as he announced through his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, that there have been too many meetings and not enough action. Details have emerged of the US proposal, which would see Ukraine's troops withdraw from the Donbass, creating a demilitarised free economic zone. But it's not clear how that would work in practice. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte was sounding more pessimistic, warning that if Putin gets what he wants in Ukraine, a European war with Russia will move closer.
We need to be ready. Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe, and we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz is equally concerned that as the US and Russia appear aligned, Europe will have to take a much firmer position in support of Ukraine.
We are truly experiencing a turning point in the sense that nothing is the same as it used to be, that we are living in a different world, a different time, and this different time requires different responses than we have given in the past.
This week saw the government making a concerted effort to crack down on the numbers of NEETs in the economy. If you're wondering what a NEET is, it stands for young people who are not in employment, education or training, and there are almost 1 million of them currently claiming social welfare benefits. Work and Pensions Secretary Pat McFadden is determined to get more of them into the workforce, and he's pushing ahead with a new youth guarantee scheme to offer training or job opportunities in construction, care or hospitality. But if they don't take up the offers, however, they may well see their benefits cut.
The idea behind the youth guarantee proposals that we are announcing is to offer those young people a better future. And I think this should be a Labour cause. Because it's an issue not just of unemployment, but of inequality too.
Tory Shadow Work Pensions Secretary Helen Whatley is keen that the government also looks at some of those claiming disability allowances.
The evidence tells us that actually often with a milder mental health problem or something neurodiversity like ADHD, you can be working and you would be better off in work.
Monday saw the government officially announce the new apprenticeship scheme, which is designed to clear some of the NEETs out of the welfare system to help get them into either work or training. Monday saw the announcement of a new £725 million fund over the next 3 years to encourage young people to take up apprenticeships. Baroness Smith is the Skills Minister, and she said the focus is on creating 50,000 new apprenticeships targeted at a younger demographic.
There were more apprenticeships this year than last year, which is good. But what we have seen is a real decline in the numbers of young people able to start apprenticeships. That's why we're making this shift.
Tuesday saw a preliminary report from an inquiry set up to investigate maternity care in England. Baroness Amos is chairing the inquiry, and she said so far things have been much worse than she expected, with findings including dirty wards, poor care and mothers going hungry. Things aren't much better for staff, with reports of some receiving death threats. The former UN diplomat says she's confident that changes will happen.
There is too much harm, too much distress, too much trauma, and the long-term consequences for families, for communities, and for all of us are almost unbearable.
Health Secretary Wes Streeting says the systematic changes will need to be made and that preventable tragedies cannot be ignored. But Rebecca Matthews, co-founder of a group of families who have been failed by the maternity system, says the investigation needs to look deeper.
If you don't try to unpick why previous recommendations haven't been implemented and what's going wrong with toxic cultures in maternity, then how on earth is the harm going to come to an end?
The inquest into the 2026 budget continued on Wednesday as 2 weeks after the announced details, Chancellor Rachel Reeves appeared before the Treasury Select Committee. This budget was marked by a series of leaks in advance, which led to criticism from House Speaker Lindsay Hoyle, who memorably described it as a hokey-cokey budget, saying 1 minute it's in, the next it's out. Reeves expressed irritation at the amount of information that emerged before budget day.
I want to stay on the record how frustrated I am and have been by these incidents and the volume of speculation and leaks. We cannot allow this to happen again. A leak inquiry is underway with my full support.
The chair of the Office of Budget Responsibility, Richard Hughes, resigned after his agency inadvertently published the budget in advance of the Chancellor's speech. But Reeves was also quizzed over the extent to which she talked down the economy and talked up the risk of income tax rises in advance of the budget itself. Tory MP Harriet Baldwin was keen to put pressure on the Chancellor over the lack of impetus for growth.
Do you accept, Chancellor, that your revealed preference now is that you hike taxes a lot and that the speculation had a real world impact and that this impression that you're ready to go for tax rises is going to hang over this country's economy for the rest of this Parliament.
With just over 2 weeks to go until Christmas, there wasn't much festive spirit at Prime Minister's Question Time on Wednesday. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch has had a busy week proposing a new grooming inquiry just before Labour appointed a chair and launching a detailed criticism of Labour's welfare policies, including an attack on the scrapping of the two-child benefit cap. At PMQs, she was busy suggesting that Prime Minister Keir Starmer hasn't got long left in number 10, suggesting he's just a caretaker until the next leadership challenge.
Everything is getting worse. The Cabinet should be doing their own jobs. What are they doing? They're trying to compete for the caretaker's job. Isn't it time, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister admits that Labour isn't working?
That didn't go down well with Starmer, who snapped back, counting up the number of defections the Tories have seen to Nigel Farage's Reform Party.
In total, Mr. Speaker, 21 ex-Tory MPs have now left for reform. The real question is, who's next?
There was no good news on Thursday about what experts are calling a tidal wave of flu that is currently engulfing the UK. The numbers of people being treated in hospital for severe flu cases are up 55% week on week, with experts warning that infections have not peaked yet and urging people to get vaccinated if they can. The Flunami has inspired a fresh round of negotiations with the British Medical Association, whose members are due to walk out for a 5-day strike on Wednesday the 17th. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said an offer has been made, but if the strike goes ahead, it will be withdrawn.
I'm very concerned with the action of the BMA. They are being irresponsible, in my view. There are other issues that they're concerned about, which we've been listening to, and we put an offer on the table. But that offer can only go forward if they don't take strike action.
Labour has struggled to set up the grooming gang inquiry. It had promised, with two of the proposed chairs of the inquiry withdrawing after protests from survivors. Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips is determined to get the inquiry underway, and Baroness Louise Casey has been tasked with helping to get it set up. However, Monday saw Tory leader Kemi Badenoch make a proposal of her own, suggesting ground rules for a new national inquiry that she said should have a limited time window but a wide remit.
I want to be clear that a national inquiry must leave no stone unturned. It must be time limited, and it must consider the role of ethnicity, religion and other cultural factors.
The Tories want a judge-led inquiry and are asking that Labour adopt their proposals. The fact that there is a comprehensive 7-year inquiry under Professor Alexis Jay was produced in a report in 2022 seems to have escaped their collective memories, although not a single recommendation was implemented. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Phillips was busy pointing fingers at the government.
We forced them into announcing this inquiry back in June. They were dragged there kicking and screaming when faced with a vote in Parliament. Here we are, half a year later, and the government has done nothing whatsoever to get this inquiry set up, and their inaction makes them complicit in the cover-up.
Tuesday saw the government announce finally that they'd found someone suitable and willing to chair the National Grooming Gang inquiry that was first announced in June. The process of finding a suitable chairperson has been difficult, with victims and survivors vocal in their demands that the person be appointed must be impartial and unafraid. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood made the announcement in Parliament that Labour peer and former Children's Commissioner Baroness Anne Longfield will head the investigation.
She has devoted her life to children's rights, including running a charity supporting and protecting young people and working for Prime Ministers of different political parties.
Mahmood says that the inquiry will be a moment of reckoning and that the brief is to use a 3-year inquiry to root out this evil once and for all. The appointment came just one day after the Tories had proposed their own inquiry and urged the government to follow their suggestion by appointing a judge to lead it. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch had moved on, however, turning her attention to renewed criticism of welfare and the government's decision to scrap the two-child benefit cap.
There are now more children in the UK growing up in households where no one works than the entire population of Estonia. This is crazy.
Last weekend saw more evidence of a dramatic shift in US foreign policy towards its European allies. The Trump administration published their national security strategy, which challenges many of the long-held assumptions about the US's approaches to diplomatic relations and even its relationship with NATO. The document says Europe is at risk of what it calls civilizational erasure, and the shift in policy was welcomed by the Kremlin, who say it largely aligns with Russian thinking. Meanwhile, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was busy trying to curry favour with his his boss, as soon as the controversy over the Caribbean boat strikes continued to build.
Like President Reagan, President Trump is dedicated to both sides of the peace through strength coin, not just using that phrase as a thin veil for warmongering. In less than a year, President Trump has secured 8 major peace deals, including a historic end to the war in Gaza.
The shift in US policy and approach has alarmed many European security analysts, and former commander of the US Army in Europe, Ben Hodge, says it's essentially a giant middle finger to the EU and UK.
All these years, our European allies have given us access with bases, intelligence sharing, and now this is the giant middle finger to that Europe. By this administration.
This week also saw the US escalate its ongoing game of cat and mouse with Venezuela on Wednesday. President Trump announced at a business event that US forces had seized a large Venezuelan oil tanker, but it wasn't clear why or what would happen next. The US president has been threatening an escalation of an ongoing pressure campaign on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The campaign, which initially saw narco boats being blown up, has continued as the US deploys more troops and resources to the area. Trump also went viral on Wednesday for a racist rant at a rally that was supposed to be about promoting affordability, but veered off into aggressive commentary about immigrants.
Why is it we only take people from shithole countries? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime.
Thursday saw the oil tanker US troops seized make its way to the US port, and the fate of the almost 2 billion barrels of crude oil still unclear. The US also sanctioned 6 additional vessels and 3 nephews of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Thursday also saw Venezuela's opposition leader Maria Corina Machado emerge from hiding and make an appearance in Norway, where she formally accepted her Nobel Peace Prize. She was backing the US action in sanctioning what she says is Venezuela's illegal black market oil, and she remains hopeful that the Maduro regime will be overthrown.
Venezuela will be free, and we will turn a country into a beacon of hope, and we will welcome not only the Venezuelans that have been forced to flee, but citizens from all over the world that will find a refuge, as Venezuela used to be.
Still to come, the Standout 7 in association with Metro. Formula 1 goes down to the wire and the Golden Globes nominations drop.
Right after this. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, and that means getting your party planning done early. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get Pepsi Max 24 times 330ml for £7, a litre of Gordon's Gin and Smirnoff Vodka, both £19, and 2 for £23 on selected packs of beer, including Budweiser 20 times 200ml and Carling 18 times 440ml, all with nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with nectar prices at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, terms and conditions apply, nectar required. Available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fee may apply, subject to availability. Please drink responsibly.
Imagine being the wizard of your home. With Xfinity Wi-Fi, you can boostify speeds for the moments that count and magically pause Wi-Fi to any device. And now you can cast a spell to stop time and keep your internet bill the same for 5 years with the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Equipment included, no contracts or commitments. Xfinity, imagine that. And see Wicked for Good, only in theaters November 21st. Restrictions apply, select plans only.
Welcome back.
Last weekend's Doha conference saw a fresh focus on Gaza and the lack of progress, with leaders of Qatar and Egypt calling on Israel to proceed with the next phase of the ceasefire. Israeli PM Netanyahu said he is due to speak to President Trump, but that the second phase must see Hamas disarm. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was in Jerusalem for a meeting with Netanyahu, the first major European leader to visit since the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for the Israeli PM. The pair also discussed this week's shipment of the Israel Arrow 3 missile defence system to Germany.
And Germany was committed and remains committed to Israel's security in many important ways. What has happened since the rise of the Jewish state is that we have been able to fend off our enemies, and in order to do that we developed capacities that now enable us to reciprocate.
Monday saw the Israeli government announce that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet Donald Trump at the White House on December 29th. The meeting is to discuss moving to phase 2 of the Gaza ceasefire, which is supposed to see Israeli troops withdraw and Hamas begin a process of disarmament. It's estimated that Israeli forces have killed more than 360 Palestinians since the ceasefire began, and there's been no sign of the proposed international stabilisation force that is supposed to take the place of the IDF. Former Israeli hostage negotiator Gershon Baskin says it's no accident that things are moving so slowly.
They're 100% not serious about it. And this is why the United States is going to be continuing to lean on Israel and make sure that they do it, while Israel kicks and screams and tries to violate the ceasefire.
All eyes were in Abu Dhabi on Sunday for the conclusion of this year's Grand Prix season, with Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris all in with the shout of the title. In the end, it came down to the wire, with Max winning the race, Oscar second and Lando third, but that was enough for Norris to clinch the title by 2 points. It makes him just the 11th Brit to win the title and caps a big year for McLaren, who also won the Constructors' Championship. Lando was quite emotional after his historic win.
I mean, it feels amazing, you know. Yeah, I now know what Max feels like a little bit, and I want to congratulate Max and Oscar, my two biggest competitors the whole season. It's been a pleasure to race against both of them. I've enjoyed it. It's been a long year, but we did it.
Monday saw this year's Golden Globe nominations announced ahead of the ceremony, which is due to take place on January 11th. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another leads the way with 9 nominations, including one for lead actor for Leonardo DiCaprio. There was also a historic second nomination for Cynthia Erivo, as she became the first black woman to be nominated twice as a lead actress in a musical or comedy. There was one big omission though, and that was the final season of Stranger Things, which didn't even get a single nomination. Millie Bobby Brown, who plays Eleven, was on with Jimmy Fallon, and she wasn't thrilled that one of her castmates has joined her in the Superpower League.
I was fuming. Are you joking me? We're giving out the powers willy-nilly. No, I was actually really happy. When we did the read-through, I couldn't believe it and I was just looking at him like, we get to be superheroes together! Yeah!
Miley Cyrus picked up a Golden Globe nomination for her song Dream Is One from Avatar, Fire and Ash. She'd always said she'd love to win an Oscar, and she's already picked up 2 Grammys in 2024. She's come a long way from life as the teen star of Hannah Montana, and her next goal is to do a song for a James Bond soundtrack. She spoke to The Hollywood Reporter about her life and how happy she is with her musical career at the moment, and how proud she is to be a role model for the next generation.
And I hope that the way that I'm living life now, where I'm really balanced between personal life and professional, I hope that kind of inspires them as much as the kind of height of what I was doing. I hope now that these women can see that you can have a really healthy personal existence.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world. Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is brought to you by Sainsbury's, where you can save big on festive favourites with Nectar prices. With Christmas round the corner, it's more important than ever to find value for money on your festive shop, and that means getting your party planning done early. And this Christmas, Sainsbury's have got great discounts to make your festive season truly magical. For example, this week you can get Pepsi Max 24 times 330ml for £7, a litre of Gordon's Gin and Smirnoff Vodka, both £19, and 2 for £23 on selected packs of beer, including Budweiser 20 times 200ml and Carling 18 times 440ml, all with Nectar prices. You can shop in-store or online and save big on festive favourites this Christmas with Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. This offer's for 18+, terms and conditions apply, Nectar required. Available in-store and online, excluding locals. Delivery fee may apply, subject to availability. Please drink responsibly.
Imagine being the wizard of your home. With Xfinity Wi-Fi, you can boostify speeds for the moments that count and magically pause Wi-Fi to any device. And now you can cast a spell to stop time and keep your internet bill the same for 5 years with the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Equipment included, no contracts or commitments. Xfinity, imagine that. And see Wicked for Good, only in theaters November 21st. Restrictions apply, select plans only.